Hello everybody, welcome to this week's live training. My name is Sian Burton, I am your scaling and marketing expert, and today I want to talk to you about how you can create a high-performing team without the use of KPIs and sticks to beat your team with, let's say, because there's a very masculine way to approach creating a high-performing team, and there's a feminine way to do it. And the thing that I know that most of my clients struggle with is I want to empower my team and I want to help them to feel good. And using KPIs to measure how successful they're being doesn't feel like the way to do that. So if you're not going to measure your team by key performance indicators, as they're called, KPIs, and use those as a stick to beat them with, how do you create a very high-performing team who are empowered and excited and really loving the work that they do? What I want to talk with you through today is a concept around working genius. And this isn't my model, this is somebody else's model, but it's one that I really love and I've worked with a number of my clients to implement into their practice, because it really highlights how structure and hierarchy, that are very masculine concepts, actually can be really detrimental to a team being empowered and fulfilled and you getting the best from them. So the masculine energy is very much hierarchical, and this is where CEOs and all the levels below them come from. You know, they have the top person and the person below them and the person below them, and everybody has their place and you have to work your way up in status. Most of the women I work with do not build businesses like that. They build much more kind of collaborative, networking, spiderweb type structures, because they know that everybody has value to offer. But where you can really take this to another level is when you understand that you don't have to have been doing something for a really long time to be really, really good at it. And equally, just because you've been doing something for a really long time doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. And if you elevate your team based on length of service instead of skill set and natural genius, you can end up with some really difficult situations. I'm going to share a personal story here because I know how much you guys will like to hear that I'm actually not all that put together. So I spent 15 years of my career in corporate marketing. I was a marketing assistant, then a marketing executive, then a marketing manager. I always loved the strategic piece of marketing. So figuring out what the problem was, understanding what the solutions might be, and identifying the best solution, and then checking that that was the best solution through testing and optimization. The thing that I hated about my role was that in order to be able to have fun with playing with strategic stuff in marketing and to be able to do the high level creative thinking around a marketing strategy, you had to be in a senior role. Now, as soon as you become a marketing manager, you have to manage people. And by the time you're head of marketing and director of marketing, you are managing an entire team of people. Now, I love to inspire people and empower people, but managing people to get them to do the jobs they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do them in the way they're supposed to do them drains the life out of me. It is not my zone of genius. I am not good at it, and I do not shine in that role, let's say. So it used to really drive me like bonkers that the more senior I got, the more people I had to manage, and the less time and energy I actually had to do the stuff where I was really good at solving problems that were complicated and required strategic thinking. I actually spent most of my time trying to get my team to do what they were supposed to do. So when I came across Working Genius, I was like, oh my goodness, that's why I hated that part of my role. So Working Genius talks about everybody having geniuses that we work to and where we work best, having areas where we're competent and having areas that are frustrations to us, and that every part is needed in a team and that every part is needed in a project as well. So the 6 things are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And when I did the assessment and I realized that I am inventor and discernment as my top 2 strengths, it's like made so much sense to me. I love to solve problems and I love to identify the best solutions to those problems, and I can roll them out. but I'm not the best at rolling them out. And if I need to get people excited about them, that's definitely not the thing that you want me to be doing. However, I work with lots of practice owners where they're really good at coming up with ideas and they're really good at getting their team inspired by those ideas, and they don't have those same problems. Where this starts to become a problem, right, is let's use the example of a senior therapist or a lead clinician. If you say that to become a lead clinician, you need to have been a clinician for 5 years and you need to have done these other things that are about ticking boxes, not necessarily about having the skill set to inspire and motivate people and engage people, then yeah, you might get someone who's a very good clinician, very good at getting their job done, very good at solving problems for clients, but really isn't very good at inspiring other people to do the same. And all of a sudden they're a senior and your team is not being led by someone who has the skill set and the strengths to do that. As opposed to maybe someone who's 2 years out and isn't quite as an experienced a therapist, but has the ability to get people excited about things and to get them inspired, and who may be a better person to be leading a group of people to keep them on track, to keep them inspired, to keep them hitting their goal numbers, because they're naturally that way inclined, than someone who's been a clinician for 4 or 5 years. Time doesn't make you a good manager, doesn't make you a good leader. Natural skill set will make you a leader. And yes, you can develop that. But ultimately, when people become stressed, and this is the thing I love about the working genius model, when people become stressed, they will naturally revert back to their working genius, what they know, where their strengths are. So when I'm stressed, all the fluffiness in my communication disappears and it becomes very transactional. Like, where's this? What's going on with this? What's happening with this? Because it's a real effort for me to show up with, they're like, hey, how are you? How has your day been? I just wanted to check in and see how this thing is. So when things are hard and I'm under the pump, that stuff is lost. However, for my business manager, who I very intentionally hired to fill this space because she is amazing at this and it's her natural genius, that's always how she shows up. And where she struggles more is to be inventive and to come up with ideas when she's really under the pump, because she is naturally more about inspiring people. And that is always where she will revert to. She will revert to the relationship. I will revert to getting things done. Neither are right or wrong. You need both. And you need your team to be doing things that work to their genius so that they can be empowered, but also so they can show up giving their best selves to you and your team and your business and feeling fulfilled in the work that they do. If you've ever had that Sunday evening feeling where you're like, oh, I really don't want to go to work, I don't enjoy what I'm doing in my work, but I don't get it because I love being a clinician, there will have been responsibilities that were given to you that were outside your genius, that were given to you because you've been there longer or because whatever reason they were given to you. And it's those things that start to feel really heavy. So this is a model that I love, if you can't tell. I've used it with a number of clients now to identify where they're having issues with their team. And it's almost always because either they've got people trying to do things that are not in their zone of genius, or they just have this gaping great big hole where they don't have anybody who's there to galvanize people or to get people, enable people so they can get things done, or they don't have anybody with tenacity to make sure things get finished. And it's the hole that is causing the problem. So if this is a topic that's been interesting and you've enjoyed listening to some of this and you want to know more, we're actually going to be covering it at my Feminine Way to Scale retreat. The US one is coming up very quickly. It is coming up in April from the 17th to the 18th. And my Australian one, which is on the Gold Coast, is coming up on the 7th and 8th of May. If this is something you'd really love to dig into more, we do still have a few spots available for guests to come along, and we will be covering this in a lot of detail. We're going to be using this to figure out how you empower your team and support them to really step into being a high-performing team, but in a way that is nurturing and collaborative and supportive, as opposed to using metrics to prod and poke them and shame them, quite honestly, into doing better. And many of you know, if you're in the mental health space, Well, you will just know that shame does not create a change in behavior. It just makes people feel really rubbish about themselves. And that is not the feminine way to empower your team or to get a high-performing team. The feminine way is to support them to feel like they're being their best and that they are fulfilled in their work, because as a result, they will show up in their best selves for you and they will stay and they will feel empowered and supported in your business. So if you're interested to find out more, you can book a call in with me and comment below and we can share the link to do that. It's a really powerful tool and assessment that by all means go and check out on your own. It's called The Working Genius and you will find it if you Google it. And I just think it's one of the most, it is literally one of the most powerful assessments that I've come across in the last couple of years, so much so that I don't use any of the other assessments that we used to use in our hiring process and we just focus on this now because it tells you so much. I literally show up in my life as an inventor with discernment. If you have a problem in your personal life, I'm going to be trying to solve it, even though I can't help it and you maybe not don't want me to. It's just how I do life. And that's very different to a lot of the other assessment tools where it can be more about how you've learned to show up in the workplace. And knowing that as women, we have had to train ourselves to show up differently because we're trying to fit in with this masculine approach to business, they can sometimes throw off what your actually natural inclination is. So I'd love to talk to you more about it if it's something you're interested in. And if you'd like to know more about the retreat, comment below and we will share that with you. Thank you for watching. I hope it's been helpful to give you some insights into some different ways to motivate your team. And if nothing else, I hope it just allows you to see that there isn't one way to do business. There is a way that we are told is the way to be successful. And then there's a feminine way, which is the way that we can actually be successful as women and do so with ease and grow really successful businesses around our families that honor our values and commitments. So I hope it's been helpful and I will see you again soon.